Welcome to this week's edition of Hematology and Blood Cancer Updates, covering the latest breakthroughs. Brought to you by Lucid Quest. Sanofi's Sarclisa has received EU approval for use in transplant-eligible, newly diagnosed multiple myeloma. This decision is based on the Phase 3 GMMG HD7 study, which demonstrated superior minimal residual disease negativity and progression-free survival when Sarclisa was added to VRD. With this milestone, Sarclisa is now approved in the EU across all lines of therapy, marking its fourth global indication within Sanofi's multiple myeloma portfolio. GSK's Blenrep has been approved in the EU for relapsed or refractory multiple myeloma in combination with BVD and BPD regimens after at least one prior therapy. The approvals are based on the DREAM7 and DREAM8 studies, which showed improved progression-free and overall survival versus standard of care. This is the sixth regulatory approval for Blenrep, with submissions under review in the US and China. ImCheck Therapeutics ICT-01 has been granted orphan drug designation by the European Medicines Agency for treatment of acute myeloid leukemia. ICT-01 targets gamma delta T cells via anti-BTN3A activity and is already designated an orphan drug in the US. It presents a novel approach, particularly for older AML patients who are not candidates for intensive chemotherapy. Autolus Therapeutics has received EU marketing authorization for AUCATZYL, also known as Obe-cel, a CAR-T therapy for relapsed or refractory B-cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia. The approval is based on data from the FELIX trial, which demonstrated a 76.6% complete remission or complete remission with incomplete hematologic recovery rate, along with a favorable safety profile. AUCATZYL is already approved in the US and UK for adults aged 26 and older. The European Commission has approved Imbruvica, or ibrutinib, as the first BTK inhibitor for previously untreated mantle cell lymphoma in patients eligible for autologous stem cell transplant. The Triangle study showed that ibrutinib provided superior overall and failure-free survival compared to standard transplant-based therapy, establishing it as a frontline option. Roche's Polivy is now reimbursed in Québec for first-line treatment of large B-cell lymphoma. This marks the first provincial listing in Canada. When combined with CHMP, Polivy reduced the risk of disease progression or relapse by 27%, expanding access to a high-risk population. The FDA has accepted Atara's biologics license application for Tab-cel, an allogeneic T-cell therapy for Epstein-Barr virus-positive post-transplant lymphoproliferative disorder. The submission has been granted priority review based on the Autolus study, which reported a 48.8% objective response rate. The PDUFA date is January 10, 2026. Novo Nordisk's Alhemo, or concizumab, received a positive opinion from the Committee for Medicinal Products for Human Use for use in patients with hemophilia A or B without inhibitors. The recommendation follows the Explorer-8 trial, which showed up to 86% reduction in bleeding episodes compared to no prophylaxis. A final decision from the European Commission is expected within 2 months. Hillhurst Biopharmaceuticals has initiated dosing in its Phase 2A trial for HBI-002, an oral low-dose carbon monoxide therapy for vaso-occlusive crises in sickle cell disease. The open-label study will evaluate safety, biomarker activity, and early efficacy, with a Phase 2B study planned for 2026. The FDA has approved Sobi's Doptelet for treatment of persistent or chronic immune thrombocytopenia in children aged 1 year and older. The approval includes a sprinkle formulation suitable for patients aged 1 to 5 years. In the AVAPED 301 trial, Doptelet achieved a durable response rate of 27.8%. Stay ahead in hematology and blood cancer research. Like, share, and subscribe for weekly updates. Visit lqventures.com or email us at info@lqventures.com for expert healthcare consulting.